All right, so let's look at this whole problem. I know the question was only on finding the asymptotes, but we're going to go through this whole thing here. So the very first thing it's asking for is looking at this equation, which happens to be a hyperbola. And I know it's a hyperbola because there's a minus in the middle. Also, I know that because y is first, it is going to be a hyperbola opening up and down, like the y-axis. So to find the center, we notice that it is shifting. This -7 is affecting the y's, so it's going to move us up 7. And the -2 is affecting the x's, so it's going to move us to the right 2. So 2, 7 is going to be our center. For part B, it wants us to identify the vertices. This is where I'll start drawing the graph because that helps me make sense of what's going on here. So I plot my center, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up 7 spaces. So that's my center. And now using the numbers underneath, that 25 is under the y. That means I'm going to go up and down the square root of 25, which is 5. So up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be where my vertex is. And I can also just, without actually counting here on the graph, know that I was at a y value of 7. So now I'm going to go up 5. That's 7 plus 5. It puts me at 212. And then going the other way, going down 1, 2, 3, 4, down 5. Again, thinking I'm at 7, to go down 5 puts me at 2. 7 take away 5 is 2. So I'm at 2, 2, which you can see visually there as well. The next thing I have is that 49 under the x. That's going to tell me I'm going to go left and right the square root of 49, which is 7. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, I'm affecting my x's. So if I'm at 2 and I go left 7, that's going to put me at -5. Still a height of 7 though. And then if I go to the right 7, then I'll be at, let's see, to the right 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, that's affecting my x's, so I'll be at 9, 7. Still the same height, 7. So then to finish off my picture here, I'm going to kind of draw that rectangle that helps me to graph the asymptotes. So the asymptotes, remember, they have to go through the center and the corners of the box. So something like, there's one, and there's one. And then my actual graph is going to be, again, we said opening up and down. It follows along those asymptotes. And you can see the vertices too. So to answer part B, when it says what are the vertices, those would be the 212, because I went up and down, and the 2, 2. For part C, it wants us to find the foci. So remember, the foci is found by taking, in this case, a squared plus b squared. Those are really just the bottom numbers. So we take 25 plus 49. So that's my c squared, which if we add those together, it'll be 74. So c will be the square root of 74. And I could leave it just like that. So what that means is I'm going to go up and down from the center. So I'm on my picture again. I'm going to go up and down square root of 74, which I'm not sure what that is. You could type that into a calculator. It's a little less than square root of 81, which is 9. So I know it's going to be somewhere up here. That's where my focus will be. But if you think about what I did, I went up square root of 74. That's what the C stands for. So if I am at a y value of 7, I'm going to be, my focus will be at still x value of 2, but it'll be 7 plus that square root of 74. And similarly, going the other direction, I'm going to go down square root of 74, wherever that happens to be. So my other focus will be at 2, and then 7 minus square root of 74. Keep those as exact answers. Don't use your calculator. If you could simplify the square root of 74, you'll have to do that. But just a quick glance, it is 37 and 2. No perfect squares in there, so we could leave it as is. So those are going to be my foci. Now to answer the question about the asymptotes, the way that I like to think about those is they're equations of lines, like y equals mx plus b. And if I was centered at 0, 0, my b would be 0. So I'm really thinking about like y equals mx, and then I'll think about the shifting. So if I go and look at my picture, zooming in here, if I am at the center, 2, 7, I know that I went up, remember, I went up 5. So that's going to be my rise, 5. And then I ran over, how much was that again? 7? 7, yep. So my slope for my line is up 5 over 7. So if I was centered at 0, 0, it would be y equals, we have both the positive slope of 5 over 7, and then we also have the negative slope that's going the other direction. That's this guy that we had down there. But because we have shifted a bit, I need to adapt those equations. And so remember that the shifting, if I go back to my original equation, I had y minus 7, so I can write that in this equation of a line as well. And I had x minus 2. So that's going to do the same exact shifting as my hyperbola did. Similarly, for the negative slope. Now this would be perfectly acceptable, but I think in your answers in aleks, it wants it in the form y equals mx plus b. So when you enter them, you're going to have to do some simplifying. So for like the first equation, we'll have y minus 7. If I distribute the 5/7, it'll be 5 over 7x minus 10 over 7. So to put it in that correct form, y equals mx plus b, I'm going to add the 7 over. So we're going to get y equals, it'll be 5 over 7x. And if I try and combine these two guys, I would need a common denominator. So I'm really looking at negative 10 over 7 plus, this is 7 over 1. So if I want a 7 on the bottom, I'll multiply top and bottom by 7. So I'll get a 49. Negative 10 plus 49 is positive 39. So I'll have 39 over 7. So that would be my first equation. And again, that's just simplifying this top guy. Then I do the same thing for the bottom. So I'm going to have y minus 7 equals distributing negative 5/7. So I'll have negative 5/7x plus 10 over 7. And similarly, I will add the 7 over and the 7 over. And these would need that common denominator again. So 10 over 7 plus it'll be 49 over 7 this time. So we get y equals negative 5 over 7x. And then 10/7 plus 49/7 is equal to 59/7, which doesn't reduce. If it did reduce, make sure that you simplify those. So these would be the two equations of my asymptotes. And then lastly, in order to graph, the hyperbola tool asks you to first plot the center. So we know that. So put the center in the correct spot, which would be 2, 7. Then we'll ask you to plot one of the vertices, and it stretches out perfectly. So you just have to scoot up to the 2, 12 and plot that there. And then it says to plot the asymptote. So if you think about what's happening, once we have the center and we have that vertice, if I want to plot the asymptote, the way the tool works is really just have to know to go over 7 and it will connect those together. So as long as you know that over 7, you're not actually graphing these lines from scratch or anything like that. As long as you understand how we form those asymptotes by going from the center to the vertice, and then we just went right 7, so up 5 over 7 in order to get that. So hope that's helpful, and that should get you your graph